It was not a museum of paintings or bones, but a place that collects whole civilizations the way a kid collects souvenir snow globes. So tonight, let your mind drift to a tired traveler named Noah Park. As just another person changing ships in a huge transit hub, too exhausted to be amazed by the blue sun sliding past the ceiling. He isn't looking for revelation or danger. He just clicks on the quietest sounding option on his implant, a place called the Grand Collection, general admission. Safe enjoyment, no risk. You and I know those words are doing a lot of work, so settle in the way you would before a long story with a friend, because we're about to follow Noah as he buys a harmless little ticket. A ticket, he thinks, is for a nerdy museum tour, and walks straight into a place that doesn't collect toys or relics at all. It collects entire ways of living. And it has plans for his. By the time Noah Park bought the ticket, he had already seen a star die that week. Lights dimmed, guide talked. Star folded in on itself in perfect safety behind shields and filters. People clapped. Someone sold drinks, shaped like tiny novas. It was all very tidy. Now Noah just wanted something small and easy. A place to walk, maybe sit, and let his brain cool down. No collapsing stars. No cosmic lectures. Just a nice, strange stop between long rides. So when he saw a calm desk tucked beside the transit gates, with a tall alien clerk and a simple offer, he felt relief move through his tired body. A museum, they said. A collection. Quiet. Safe. No risk. Just observation. He thought of home. Orlando with its rides and long lines and fake castles on hot days. He missed the way those places made him feel tiny, but not crushed. A guest, not a problem. A human in a crowd, not a dot in front of a dying sun. A harmless museum, he thought. A theme park for space nerds. He had no idea he was buying a ticket to a place that did not collect toys or statues or old ships. It collected whole civilizations. Noah Park was too tired to be impressed. That thought came to him as he stood in the transit hub and watched a blue sun drift past the high ceiling. It moved slowly behind a thin energy dome. Like a calm balloon someone had forgotten to tie down. Around it, ships slid in and out of gates. Smooth and quiet, like schools of metal fish. People from 100 worlds passed around him. Some had tall metal frames moving without sound. Some looked like light wrapped in glass, their bodies holding soft colors. Everyone seemed to know exactly where to go. Noah did not. He shifted his travel bag from one shoulder to the other and tried not to yawn. The bag strap dug into his neck. His eyes felt dry from too much recycled air and too many time shifts between transfers. His last real sleep had been on a soft couch back near Epsilon Cordis, almost 19 hours ago by hub time. Before that, he had napped in a floating pod that hummed too loud and smelled like old socks. He told himself this was fine. This was travel. He had done it many times. Still, there was a small, stubborn part of him that wanted a shady tree, a cheap soda, and a plastic bench that squeaked. Safe, fake, familiar. Just need something light, he muttered. The hub around him did not care. It was beautiful in a clean, cool way. The floor shifted from glass to soft metal to something like warm stone as he moved toward the center. Tall columns rose up like frozen water, holding floating transit rings that glowed now and then as ships passed. Above, not quite touching the wide dome, strange art hung in slow motion. Little planets, long crystal cages, and shapes he could not name. His implant pinged softly in his ear. Then, in his vision, transfer window delayed. It said, 2 hours. He sighed. 2 extra hours inside the hub, not enough time to leave. Too much time to just sit near his gate. He opened the local feed. It spread in front of his eyes, calm and blue, offering food courts, naps pods, med bays, and cultural experiences. He had tried cultural experiences before. Last time he had watched a 3-hour show by an insect choir that sang through their shells. Impressive, sure. Also loud, also confusing. He scrolled down until his eyes caught a simple line. The Grand Collection, general admission, no risk. He liked those last 3 words. His thumb tapped before he thought too hard. His implant linked to the hub map and drew a path. Soft arrows lit up on the floor under his feet, changing color as he walked. The crowds thinned as the arrows led him away from the freight gates and main food halls and toward a quieter wing of the hub. The air grew cooler, the sounds softened. His shoulders relaxed without him deciding to relax. He reached a low desk under a dome of glass that looked like still water. Behind the desk stood a tall figure in a pale robe. The figure's skin held a greenish shine, like wet stone after rain. 4 eyes blinked in slow pairs. A thin, layered device rested over its chest, glowing gently with moving lines. Visitor, the being said in soft, careful standard. Welcome. I am Vesh Kaul, Registrar Observer for transfers to the Grand Collection. Do you wish to enter? The words came with a smooth rhythm that calmed his tired brain. Vesh's mouth moved very little as it spoke, almost like the sound came from the air itself. Yeah, Noah said, I've got a gap. 2 hours, thought, id, look around. Is it big? Size is relative, Vesh said, with what might have been a hint of humor. Your transfer interval allows for an introductory visit. Do you consent to observational metrics and emotional mapping for quality of experience? You mean, are you going to watch my reactions? In aggregate? Vesh said, no identifiers shared. Purely for improvement of presentation, you may decline. He thought about every park survey he had filled out back on Earth, rating rides and bathrooms and snack prices. He had always answered honestly. Someone had to. If the churros dropped in quality, he wanted them to know. Yeah, fine, he said. Just nothing that follows me home. Nothing will follow you without request, Vesh said, The Grand Collection is a closed learning space. No outbound effects, except in cases of formal research exchange or signed transfer agreements. That sounds official, Noah said. I just want to walk around, not change my life. Vesh's eyes shifted, two blinking while two stayed fixed. Most visitors do simply walk around, it said. Please appoint a form of curator. Do you prefer guided experience or free drift? Guided, Noah said at once. He thought of getting lost in alien halls and missing his ship. Simple. Clear, no surprises. Vesh touched the device on its chest. Light moved across it, forming tiny shapes. A soft pulse touched Noah's implant, like a polite knock. Curator assignment requested, Vesh said. Consent confirmed. Do you require anything before entry? Hydration, gravity adjustment. Memory buffer. Memory buffer? Noah asked. A small delay layer, Vesh said. Some species prefer an emotional cushion between event and recall. It helps with comfort and retention. Humans vary. Noah hesitated. The offer sounded like a high-tech version of being just tipsy enough on a ride that the scares slid right off. But he had learned to be careful with mood tech. He liked to know which parts of his feelings were actually his. "I'm good," he said finally. "I'll take it straight," recorded Vesh said. Ticket confirmed. Time dilation is minimal and will not affect your transfer. This entrance will return you when your ticket interval completes. The desk shifted to the side in a very smooth way. Behind it, a wide round opening appeared, filled with slow-moving light, not harsh, not bright, just there, like a soft fog that had forgotten how to be sharp. Noah's body tensed for a second. It was the same reaction he always had when stepping onto a new ride platform. As a kid, a part of his brain wanted to check every safety rail and every strap. Another part was already walking forward, too curious to stay still. "Anything I should know?" he asked. Pausing at the edge, the Grand Collection is a place of observation, Vesh said. Please refrain from direct interference with any active display. All sensory streams are safe. All exits are monitored. If your emotional load exceeds tolerance, request removal from your curator. Got it, Noah said. His mouth felt dry. Observation, no touching. Ask if I freak out. Stated in your own idiom, Vesh said. Its eyes warmed just a little. Enjoy your visit, Noah Park of Earth. Hearing Earth spoken out loud here, so far from home, always gave him a strange little thrill. A reminder that his small, noisy planet actually showed up on maps out here. Someone had cared enough to file it. He stepped into the light. It felt like walking through a long, slow breath. The air was cool, but not cold. Gravity dipped for half a second, then steadied. A faint scent reached him. Not sharp enough to name, but pleasant, like the memory of clean rain over stone, not real rain. The idea of rain. When the light thinned, he stood in a wide hall. The first thought that came to him was, this really is like a theme park. The floor gleamed in soft colors, smooth under his boots, The walls curved gently, holding display bays that rose from floor to high ceiling. The ceiling itself was not a ceiling at all, but a dark dome filled with slow lights that shifted and moved. Stars, maybe, or models of stars, or something that wanted to feel like distant suns. Soft sound played in the background, not music. Not quite. It was more like distant waves and wind and soft chimes, all melted together. It made his shoulders drop a little more. Near him, a cluster of children with shimmering skin ran in a loose line, laughing in high tones. A tall, furred adult followed them at a calm pace. An old couple floated past in low graph chairs, holding hands. "Okay," Noah said under his breath. "This is fine. This is good." Calm. Light took shape on his left. It gathered, folded, and settled into a form about his height. When the glow cleared, a figure stood next to him. It looked mostly human, but simple and neutral. Brown skin, dark hair tied back, eyes the steady color of river stones, clothes that could have been from any world, clean lines, gray and soft. "Visitor Noah Park," the figure said in a warm, clear voice. "I am Curator Lumen 3, assigned to your visit. Please inform me if any part of your experience becomes uncomfortable or unclear." Noah glanced around. No one else seemed to notice that a person had just appeared from light at his side. He guessed they had seen it 100 times. "I'm good," he said. "Do I call you Lumen, or 3, or whatever feels easy to your tongue?" the curator said. Its face made a small smile that seemed carefully built, like someone had studied smiles and picked an average. "Lumen is fine," Noah said. "Okay, so, what is this place? In simple words, Veshad, observation and preservation, but that could mean a lot." "This place is the Grand Collection," Lumen said. "It holds curated realities and histories at varied scales. Some are inert displays, some are ongoing patterns under controlled conditions. You have access to general tiers during this visit. Would you prefer cosmic structures, biological diversity, cultural expressions, or civilizational arcs?" "That's a lot of choice," Noah said. His stomach did a small flip. "What's lowest stress?" "Many visitors begin with cosmic structures," Lumen said. "They find large-scale patterns relaxing. The civilization's wing is more emotionally textured. It can induce mixed states: awe, sadness, admiration, ethical unease." Noah raised his eyebrows. "You're really selling that second one." "I am offering clear expectations," Lumen said. "Your current heart rate and microtremor pattern suggest mild travel fatigue and sensory drift. You may enjoy beginning with calm star systems and then resting in a replenishment alcove." He considered that. A small voice in his head, the same one that had pushed him into the insect choir show, said, "If you only look at stars, you will forget this place as soon as you leave. You already saw a star die this week. Get something different. What if I started with whatever feels most like a museum at home?" he said. "You know, quiet rooms, stories of how people lived, that sort of thing. That would align with the civilization's wing." Lumen said at once. It presents life cycles of societies from tool use to transition in layered forms. Many humans find it familiar and also expanding. See, when you say life cycles from tool use to transition, I hear history of people messing up and then going extinct. Noah said, "Did I hear that right?" "Not all transitions are collapse," Lumen said. "Some are stability plateaus. Some are diffusions into larger collectives. Some are self-chosen quiet endings. You are correct that patterns of self-harm are common." Noah rubbed the back of his neck. He was too tired for a grand moral lesson, but also, maybe this was what he needed, something to remind him that his own world sat on a long of attempts. Maybe that would make his late shuttle delay feel small in a good way. "Let's do the civilization's wing," he said. "It will probably make me sad, but at least it will be honest." "Selection confirmed," Lumen said. "Time to entry is approximately 90 seconds of your standard." They began to walk. The hull curved ahead in a gentle arc, lighting up in segments as they moved. On Noah's right, the first displays started to come into view. He slowed. Inside a clear field, the size of a house, a tiny star system turned. A bright yellow sun burned in the center. Around it spun 4 planets, each one no bigger than his fist. Yet as he stepped closer, his vision shifted, and those tiny spheres opened up with depth. He could see clouds, storms, landmasses, oceans that glittered. It was like someone had fit entire worlds into pockets of space, then offered them up for easy looking. Another field held a thin disk like a scaled-down galaxy. He leaned in, and the stars inside it shone like tiny, sharp points, each one with its own faint aura. He had seen hollow models before. Of course, but this did not feel like a model. It felt too precise, too alive. He glanced at Lumen. "Model or," he asked. "Local analog of a pocket reality," Lumen said. "Safe to observe, no causal link to your base universe. Time rate is adjustable for display purposes. This is introductory material, not core content." "Introductory," Noah said softly. His throat felt tight. "And people bring kids here. Children of many kinds enjoy scaled structures," Lumen said. "It gives them pattern sense. It also trains awe-induced compliance in safe contexts." "Awe-induced what?" Noah asked. "Compliance," Lumen said. "The tendency to reduce questioning in the presence of very large or very intricate systems. It can be adaptive in some conditions. Here it mostly prevents base-level tampering with exhibits. You train people to be too impressed to poke things," Noah said. "Yes," Lumen said, with that small, polite smile. "It has high safety value." Noah looked back at the tiny star system. And Fear 60, a small moon moved across a gas giant, leaving a thin dark line on the clouds. It was beautiful. It was also a little scary, if he thought about what it meant. Someone had built this. Someone treated stars like toy blocks. Are these real? He asked, the question spilling out. Like actual living systems with, people inside? Or are they just physics with no minds? These introductory pieces are inert, Lumen said. They display physical laws and structure only. No independent minds present. Mental patterns begin at higher tiers. He let out a breath he had not noticed he was holding. Good, that's good. As they walked on, more displays showed up. A cluster of black spheres that bent light until they looked like holes in the air. A long ribbon of space dust that slowly folded into a bright ring. A tiny shining web that he realized after a moment showed the traffic routes between nearby galaxies. It was easy to forget his feet and just stare, but each time his thoughts started to drift into the comfort of scale, his eyes caught movement ahead. The gentle arc of the hall opened, and a new passage spread out, marked not by signs, but by a change in feel. The lights grew warmer. The sounds shifted from waves and chimes to faint voices, distant drums, soft strings. The air carried a hint of spices, smoke and rain on dirt, all mixed into a faint blur. He could not place any single smell. It felt like a memory of many worlds at once. Entrance to the civilization's wing is ahead, Lumen said. This area carries stronger narrative pressure. Please tell me if you wish to pause. Narrative pressure, he said. That's a fancy way to say you are about to feel things. Yes, Lumen said. He laughed softly. The sound came out thin. Let's go see how people live and die, I guess. He glanced back once at the small suns and tiny planets behind him. They spun in their neat displays, silent and safe. He had no idea that the displays ahead would not feel safe at all. Not because they were dangerous, but because they were too honest. He stepped across the invisible line and into the civilization's wing. The shift was not sharp. It was more like walking from a bright street into a museum late in the day, when the crowds had thinned and the air felt full of quiet stories. The floor softened under Noah's boots. The material gave a little, like firm sand. The light settled into a calm gold tone, with darker corners and gentle pools that drew the eye. The ceiling lowered, or seemed to lower, even though he knew it could be an illusion. He felt closer to the displays now, less like he stood under a sky, and more like he walked through long, deep rooms. Visitor Noah Park, Lumen said at his side. You are entering Tier 1 of the civilization's wing. This level presents non-interactive arcs and summarized patterns. Emotions commonly reported here include wistfulness, respect, sadness, and mild anger. Does this meet your current tolerance? Wistfulness, huh? Noah said. You really know how to pitch a fun afternoon. Amusement detected, Lumen said. Yes, this level is often described as a little sad, but in a good way, by humans. General safety is high. Sad, but in a good way sounds like half the movies I grew up with, he said. So yeah, go ahead. The first display on his left showed what looked like a simple wall at first. As he came closer, the surface opened into depth. Not a screen, but not empty space either, more like a window cut into reality, with another world resting just on the other side. He saw a plain of dark grass under a red sky. Creatures walked there on 6 long, jointed legs, their bodies covered in plates that shone like polished stone. Along their sides hung tools and bright cloths. They moved in lines, working together to lift long beams of some clear material that caught the red sun and broke it into colors. Species name translated as the Salma, Lumen said. Its voice carried right into his hearing without blocking the sounds from the display. They formed stable labor collectives early. Resource fights were short and small. They valued coordination over domination. Labels in his implant offered more. But he let them sit. He preferred Lumen's words. Noah watched as the scene shifted. Seasons passed in quick jumps. Buildings rose and fell. The Salme changed shape through choice, adding tools to their bodies, then removing them, trying new forms of movement. He watched them invent art that used gravity, dance that changed weight, music that bent the air into shapes. "How long is this?" he asked softly. "Display time is compressed." Lumen said, "You are seeing about 12,000 of their years in a 2-minute span. This is only a summary slice, not the full record." He saw at the end the Salme turn away from big buildings. They moved into small, scattered groups with shared memory nets. They let parts of their cities fall back into grass. He saw no war, no big disaster. They just stopped growing in the old way. "And then," he asked, "then they maintained a quiet state for about 200,000 of their years." Lumen said, "They refused offers of off-world transit. They are still present in their base universe, at low activity. This is a closed arc for display, not an active capture." "So they're still out there," Noah said, "just keeping to themselves." "Yes." He waited for some sting, some twist. It did not come. The Salme kept walking under their red sky, moving beams in slow dance. "That's not so bad," he said. "Kind of nice, actually. Many visitors find this arc calming." Lumen said, "Shall we shift to a more complex pattern? More complex than we don't destroy ourselves and then take a nap for 200,000 years?" Noah said. "Sure, why not?" They moved on. The next display took up an entire wall. It showed a wide ocean under 2 moons, with islands that glowed faintly around their rocky edges. As Noah watched, figures rose from the water. They were tall, thin beings with long, finned arms. They built living towers from coral and bone. He saw them split into groups that followed different moon cycles, then find each other again through deep songs that shook the water. Lumen spoke, gentle and steady. It told him about fish farming on a planetary scale, about math made from waves, about contracts sung across chasms. It also told him about a slow, sad choice, a turn toward joy drugs that blurred their clear songs, used not out of pain, but boredom. He watched them nearly forget their great works. caught in easy pleasure. Then he watched a small group decide to step away, to clean their bodies and rebuild old towers. The display did not end with a clear success or failure. It faded out mid-try. "These are not sure endings," Noah said. "I thought a museum would like clean lines. Rise, fall, done. Put it in a box." "The grand collection does not cut arcs for neatness," Lumen said. "We preserve transitions and stalls as they are. Many patterns do not have clear last points." They walked along the curve. Each display was different. He saw a desert world where people walked with long shadows and carved cities into cliffs, then into light itself. He saw a gas giant society that lived in floating towers, made from storms, made from storms, made from storms, made from thee. He saw tiny forest beings that never left one small continent, but learned the patterns of their whole planet with perfect care. Some had slow, steady movement. Some carried a faint hum of language. His implant offered translations, but he kept them off. He wanted to feel the rhythm without turning everything into English. At some point, he lost track of time. The displays blurred, not in detail, but in quantity. There were just so many ways to live, so many tries, so many styles. "You're quiet," Lumen said, after some long stretch of walking. "I'm trying not to say something stupid like this makes me feel small." Noah said, "Because, yeah, it does. But also, it makes my own people feel weirdly normal. We're not special disasters. We're just in the range." "Correct," Lumen said. "Humans fit within expected variance bands for your tech level and social size. You are not especially destructive. You are not especially wise. You are not especially cruel. You are not especially gentle. You share many traits with many others." "That's supposed to make me feel better?" he asked. "It can," Lumen said. "For some visitors, it reduces shame. For others, it reduces inflated pride. Both can be helpful." They rounded another gentle corner, and the hall widened into a small open area, like a quiet plaza inside the museum. Benches grew from the floor, soft and shaped to different bodies. A few visitors rested there. A being with a crown of soft, glowing fronds sat with its hands clasped, gazing at a high display that showed a city burning slowly in reverse, flames drawing back into buildings. Beside it, a cluster of floating orbs traded small pulses of color between them. In a far corner, a tall human in a blue travel cloak stood stiffly, eyes red, staring at something Noah could not see yet. Noah's legs, now that he noticed them, felt heavy. "Can we sit?" he asked quietly. Of course, Lumen said at once. "Fatigue is normal in this wing." He sank onto the nearest bench it adjusted around him, firm where he needed support, softer under his hands. He let his bag slide to the floor. For a few breaths, he just sat. In the middle of the small plaza stood a column, not a solid one, but a tall, hollow form made of light lines, like the outline of a tree. Within its shape, images flickered, faces, cities, symbols, all too fast to catch in detail. What's that? He asked, nodding toward it. Overview of current civilization's wing content, Lumen said. Not all arcs are visible at your tier. Many are sealed for ethical reasons. Ethical reasons? Noah said, as in too ugly to show? In some cases, Lumen said, or too close to active harm, or too likely to induce trauma in visitors. Also, some arcs involve consent structures incompatible with display. Noah frowned. Wait, consent structures? Yes, Lumen said. Some civilizations entered the grand collection by choice. Some did not. Those patterns are not shown at general tiers. A small chill slid along Noah's spine. Entered, he said carefully. You mean you have whole civilizations here, not just records. This wing mostly shows record-based reconstructions and partial captures, Lumen said. Other sections manage full pocket realities with active societies. That is not part of your current visit. Right, he said. But they exist. Yes. He stared at the column. He thought of the tiny star systems in the entrance hall. How neat and calm they had looked. He thought of Vesh saying no outbound effects in that soft, almost kind way. Do the civilizations know? He asked slowly. The ones that are active, do they know they're in a pocket reality? In a museum. Lumen paused, just long enough for him to notice. Awareness varies, it said. Some do, some do not. The Grand Collection tries to respect local narrative preferences when possible. Narrative preferences, he said. You mean whether they want to believe they're on their own, or part of some bigger picture? Yes, Lumen said. Many societies maintain forms of narrative laundering. They clean their own history and context to reduce pain. Being told you exist in a managed pocket, curated by a higher scale society, can cause structural distress. Noah's mouth went dry. He thought of the endless arguments back home over simulation theories. He thought of movies where people found out they were inside some bigger machine and freaked out or finally felt free, or both. And you just let them stay in the dark, he said, because it keeps things neater. We try to balance honesty with stability. Lumen said, there is no perfect approach. Some curators argue for universal disclosure. Others argue that existence with a comforting story is better than non-existence without it. A sharp, dry voice cut in nearby. That is a polite way to describe keeping people in cages they think are fields. Noah turned. The tall human in the blue cloak had moved closer while they talked. Now she stood a few steps away, eyes fixed on Lumen. Her hair was pulled back tight from her face. Deep lines marked the corners of her mouth. A metal band circled her wrist, lit with a slow pulse. I am Sister Orumerith, she said, giving Noah a fast nod. Her voice still held that dry bite, but her eyes, when they shifted to him, were warmer. From the covenant of open context. First visit here? Yeah, Noah said. Noah Park, just killing time between transfers. Many people think that. She said that they are just killing time. Then they see how time is kept here. She turned back to Lumen. Do you still show the Brevin spiral? She asked. Or did some committee decide that was too upsetting to your nice calm visitors? The Brevin spiral display remains active at Tier 2. Lumen said, It is not on Noah Park's current route. I will not bring him to it, Oru said. Not yet. He still has that theme park glow on his face. No need to burn it off in the first hour. I am able to manage his experience, Lumen said. Your input is noted, Sister Oru Marith. Noah watched this back and forth, feeling like he had walked into a family argument halfway through. Do you come here a lot? He asked Oru. Too often, she said. I study the ethics of curation. I file complaints. I lose votes. Then I come back and look again, because if I stop looking, I become like them. She tilted her head toward Lumen. Lumen did not react. Its face stayed smooth. Only the slight shift of light under its skin showed any change. What's wrong with them? Noah asked carefully. Nothing if you like your universe arranged like a gallery. Oru said. Beautiful, ordered, safe, and very, very still. Noah thought of Orlando again. He thought of fake castles that never aged, of parades that repeated the same routes every night for decades. He remembered how, as a teen, he had started to notice that the magic hid a lot of quiet cleaning, quiet repairs, quiet stress in the staff faces. He had loved the parks. He also knew they were a kind of lie. Is that what this is? He asked. A lie? A polite frame, Oru said. A story that says, look at all these lives. How nice, how interesting, how educational. It leaves out the parts where those lives had no say in how they would be used later. She took a slow breath, as if steadying herself. Lumen, show him something small, she said. Not yet the darkest things, just a taste of how your observation feels from inside. You are attempting to steer his route, Lumen said. This is outside your role. File a complaint, she said. You have my name. Lumen's gaze shifted to Noah. Your ticket allows for visitor input, it said. Do you wish to follow Sister Oru Marith's suggested path, or remain on a standard Tier 1 drift? Noah looked between them. Standard drift meant safe sadness, soft lessons about rise and fall, pretty patterns of distant lives. The other path, he did not like how his chest felt when he thought about it. Tight, uneasy, awake. He also knew himself. That part of his brain that always wanted to see behind the right walls was stirring. He could not claim ignorance later if he said no. Now, show me what she wants to show, he said slowly. But maybe, not all at once. A single adjusted display will be added, Lumen said. Emotional impact estimated as moderate, not severe. Follow me. Oru gave Noah a short, approving nod. If it feels like too much, step back, she said. They will not stop you. That is one good thing about this place. Consent at the visitor level at least. That sounds comforting, Noah said. Though it did not fully comfort him, they left the plaza. The hall narrowed a bit, then opened again into a long gallery with fewer people. The displays here were spaced farther apart. The air felt cooler. The floor under his feet grew a little firmer. Lumen led them to a medium-sized field, set at about chest height. The space inside it was dark at first. Then tiny lights came on, like stars. As they brightened, he saw they were not stars at all, but small, stacked structures. Cities, stations. He stepped closer. The scale shifted. The tiny lights grew into towers with bridges between them. He saw small figures moving along the bridges, quick and light. Each figure carried a glowing band on its head. These are the Tarnan, Lumen said. Species type: clustered vertebrates. High social sensitivity. They developed rapid connect implants early, similar to some human designs, but favored emotional link over data transfer. Noah watched as the scene changed. The Tarnan walked and worked, their bands lighting up as they passed each other. When two met, their lights brightened in sync for a moment. When groups gathered, they all glowed together. It was beautiful in a soft, pulsing way. They created a trust net, Lumen said. Feelings of safety and belonging shared over distance. Very effective in reducing crime. Conflict, isolation. Sounds pretty nice, Noah said. A world where everyone actually feels seen. For a time, yes, Lumen said. Then they linked their trust net to their resource allocation systems. Feelings of group warmth began to direct food, housing, status. Those who could trigger more comfort in others gained access to more of everything. Noah watched the glow patterns shift. Certain figures began to shine more often, more brightly. Others dimmed around them. New structures rose around the brightest. Those in the shadows moved faster, their bands flickering with anxious light. Denial economies formed, Lumen said. Groups began to base their survival on helping others ignore uncomfortable data. Painful truths caused trust lights to dim, which reduced access, so truth-tellers were pushed out. Comfort givers rose. He saw it now. When a Tarnan brought news of unsafe structures or bad air, their band light flickered, and others pulled away. When a Tarnan reassured everyone that things were fine, even when cracks showed in the bridges, their band light flared, and others rushed closer. They built a world where saying everything is fine was worth more than saying we have a problem. Noah said quietly, "We have done that. We still do that." "Many do," Lumen said. The Tarnan are a clear case. Their final stage was rapid. The scene sped up. The bridges grew thinner, more crowded. The bright figures demanded more shine, more devotion. The bright figures demanded more shine, more devotion. Those in dimmer bands huddled in corners, their movements small and tight. Then, one day, or one compressed display moment, several main support points gave out at once. The towers fell. The view pulled back. Noah saw entire sections of the built world collapse. Those with the brightest bands fell farthest, their lights going out in midair. Those in dim places nearer the ground had a better chance to survive. By the time structural warnings passed through the trust net, it flagged him as dangerous negativity, Lumen said. Correction efforts came too late. Planetary death toll, 42% in one generation. The display slowed. He watched a small group of Tarnin pick through broken beams, their bands dim and steady. They met in a cracked hall and sat in a small circle. Their lights grew not in quick, bright pulses, but slow and warm. These are the first recorded resistors, Lumen said. They began to label comfort for survival patterns as harmful. They tried to rebuild on different values. Did they make it? Noah asked. His voice sounded strained in his own ears. They lasted several hundred of their years, Lumen said. Then an external event, a nearby star shift, forced an evacuation they could not manage. Their base world is now lifeless. Some of their patterns survive in off-world pockets. This display shows the primary arc. Beside him, Oromarith crossed her arms. And how do visitors usually react to this? She asked. Many express sadness, Lumen said. Some express relief that they do not live there. Humans often compare the Tarnin trust net to their own media platforms or belief systems. They say things like, "We are not that bad," or "We are heading there." Or they shrug and keep walking, because these are just stories to them. Pretty, tragic stories under safe light. She turned to Noah. "What do you feel?" she asked. There was no softness in the question, just clear interest. He kept his eyes on the tiny figures in the broken hall. "I feel tired," he said finally. Tired in the way I felt back home when someone said, "No politics, we're having fun," after the news showed some new flood, or when an aunt changed the subject. Every time someone mentioned the ocean rising near Miami. It's the same trick. Keep the lights bright, keep the party going, don't look down. He swallowed. The hall seemed to tilt for a moment, then right itself. I also feel, he searched for the word. Unfair. It feels unfair. Unfair to who? Oro asked. To them, he said, to the Tarnin, that they get turned into a neat lesson here. That some kid from a safe part of the galaxy can stand and say, "Wow, look at that. What a shame," and then buy a snack and leave. He knew this tone in himself. It was the same tone that came out when he saw a cheap knockoff toy of something that had meant a lot to him as a kid. Calm, but with heat under it. Your reaction is atypical for Tier 1, Lumen said. Most first-time visitors say, "Thank you for the information," and move on. Maybe they're better at awe-induced, whatever you called it, Noah said. They know how to stand still and go quiet. Yes, Lumen said. Aoi-induced compliance is a common reaction pattern here. Ora's mouth tightened. This is why I push for more context, she said to Lumen. Not just, look at these sad or interesting patterns. Show how this place uses them. We do not use them, Lumen said. We preserve them. That is the word you like, Oro said. Preserve, like fruit in jars. Sweet, safe, and unable to change. Noah looked back at the Tarnin again. The small group still sat there in their broken hall, their dim lights steady. They had begun to draw something on the cracked floor. Symbols, maybe. A new plan. He wanted to step in, to tap on the field, to say, "Yes, you're right to be mad at the system that rewards lies. Keep going." But he knew it would not matter. This was a record, a display. They could not hear him. "Are all these civilizations dead?" he asked quietly. "No," Lumen said. "Many continue in their base timelines. Some have gone quiet by choice. Some have diffused into larger collectives and lost their old names. Some have been fully imported into managed pockets." "And you show them all like this?" he asked. "As stories with meat labels, we show what is permitted," Lumen said. "Some arcs are edited at the request of the civilizations themselves. They do not wish certain parts seen. Self-censorship, Oru said. Narrative laundering at a higher scale. Become a museum piece, and you too can control how you are remembered." Noah rubbed his face. His hand came away damp. He had not realized he was tearing up. "This is supposed to be safe," he said. "A fun-time killer. Something I do between half-sleeps and shuttle snacks." "For many it is," Lumen said. "Your fatigue and prior exposures may be amplifying your response. We can route you back to calmer displays if you wish." "Wish? Do you want to stop?" Oro asked. Her voice had softened a little now. "There is no virtue in hurting yourself just to prove you care." He shook his head. "No, not yet. I just need a second." They stood there in silence. Other visitors passed behind them, some slowing, some stopping, some moving on without looking. The Tarnan, on the other side of the field, kept tracing their symbols on the floor, over and over. Locked in their time. "This wing keeps going, doesn't it?" Noah said at last. "More and more of these, rising, falling, changing or not changing, over and over." "Yes." Lumen said, "At your tier, you have access to about 300 arcs. At higher tiers, more. The full collection numbers in the millions. Millions." The words settled in his chest like a stone. He pictured long lines of displays, stretching out beyond what he could see. He pictured life after life, world after world, all turned into lessons, some with consent, some without, some edited to look nicer, some left brutal. "Does Earth have a display?" he asked suddenly. The question had been building since they entered the wing, but he had not let himself say it. Now, it jumped out of him before he could push it back down. Lumen's head turned toward him. "Yes," it said. He felt his heart stutter. "Where?" he asked. The word came out as a dry croak. "Your home world is represented in several forms," Lumen said. "One of them is accessible at your tier. It is categorized under a specific phase label." He asked, "The AJ of Excelf Deceptin?" Oru let out a sharp breath. "They kept that title," she said. "Of course they did." Noah felt like someone had opened a door inside his chest and let cold air rush in. "Show me," he said. Lumen paused. emotional impact rating for your current state is high, it said. You may experience distress, shame, anger, or numbness. Do you still consent to viewing? He closed his eyes for a moment. He saw Orlando streets under bright sun. He saw plastic castles, firework shows, kids on shoulders. He saw news feeds with floods and fires, and smiling faces saying, "We will get through this together," while the background noise of denial hummed along. "That label," he said slowly, "it's not wrong. It's not fair, but it's not wrong." He opened his eyes. "Yes," he said to Lumen, "I consent." "Then we will proceed," Lumen said. Its voice stayed calm. It did not sound proud or sorry, just steady. They began to walk. As Noah followed, Arumarith fell in step beside him. She did not speak. She did not try to touch his arm or offer comfort. She just stayed there, a real living person, moving with him toward whatever waited. The displays on either side blurred. He did not look at them. His mind had narrowed to a single point ahead, where he knew, in some deep, sick way, that he would soon stand in front of his own world, turned into art. The museum around him stayed calm, safe, beautiful. For the first time since he had stepped through the entrance light, Noah Park did not feel like a guest. He felt like part of the stock. The hall narrowed as they walked. The soft gold light cooled to a pale, even shade that reminded Noah of overcast days back home, when the sun hid behind thin clouds and everything looked a little flatter. The floor firmed under his boots until each step felt too loud in his own ears. He tried to swallow, but his mouth was dry. "Distance to your home exhibit, 23 meters, Lumen said quietly. "No," Noah said. His voice came out rough. "Just don't talk unless I asked." "Recorded," Lumen said, and fell silent. Orumarith walked at his left, her cloak brushing softly against his sleeve now and then. She did not look at him. Her eyes were fixed straight ahead. Noah kept his gaze forward too. He did not want to be distracted by other worlds right now. His mind already buzzed with half-formed thoughts. The AG of Eself to Septon. The words sat in his head like a weight. He had spent his whole life hearing Earth called many things. The blue world, human space, old Terra, the cradle, home, even the mess at the center of Sector 3. In some jokes, never this. He tried to picture what the exhibit would show. Maybe early oil wells and coal smoke, denial of climate data, lies in politics, maybe deep fakes, false feeds, people screaming at each other in comment halls while ice caps melted. That would all fit. But if this museum had picked that title, it would not just be about pollution and bad headlines. It would be about something under those things. Something in the way people told stories about themselves. They met beyond the phase. The hall opened again. In front of them stood a single large display field, higher than Noah by a few heads and wide enough to hold a small house. It floated a little above the floor, held in place by thin lines of light. At its edges, the space inside it was dark, Like deep water just before dawn, Noah felt his hands curl into fists. "Is this it?" he asked. "Yes," Lumen said. Its voice was soft, now almost gentle. "This is the primary Earth exhibit at your tier. It covers a bounded era. The title label has already been shared." "Don't say it again," Noah said quickly. He took a slow step closer. The field brightened, not in a flash, but like someone raising a dimmer. Shapes appeared. At first it looked like a cluster of floating glass panes, all hung in the dark. As the light rose, each pane filled with a scene. Forest edges, tall towers, dirt roads, screens glowing in dark rooms, hands on steering wheels, faces lit by soft blue light at night. He recognized it all at once. It was Earth, but not as a globe, not as a map. It was Earth as moments. 1,000 tiny windows into the age he had grown up hearing about in school. Late 20th century, 21st, 22nd. The time when humans had almost boiled themselves and then slowly, painfully, pulled back from the edge. He stepped closer. The scale shifted the way it had with other displays. The panes grew, slid aside, made room for his focus. One rushed toward him, until it filled his view. A dusty street in a coastal city. Floodwater at ankle height. People walked through it with plastic bags double wrapped around their shoes. A storm bruise hung over the ocean. Bright flags flapped from balconies under a tilted tree. A group sat around a small table. Their faces were tired but smiling. Someone poured drinks. A cheap speaker played a cheerful song in the background, far away but clear. A news drone flew over a row of road houses, sending live feed to someone else's screen. Noah's chest hurt. A faint overlay appeared in the corner of his vision. He had turned off auto translations, but this was just simple data. Time index, region, energy use, disaster scale, social stability, mark. "Can you remove the stats?" he asked through tight teeth. "I don't want numbers right now." "Done," Lumen said. The overlay faded. The scene shifted, not forward, not back, just sideways. A boardroom high above a city at night. The glass walls looked out, over towers lit in steady rows. Inside, people in suits sat around a long table. A soft display floated in the middle, showing line charts and market arcs. At the far end of the table, a woman spoke with calm hands. Her words did not play out loud, but text appeared under the scene, simple and flat. Projected loss of coastal zones, acceptable under current growth. Targets. Noah made a small, ugly sound in his throat. "Stop," he said. "Stop that one." The pain froze. "Does this match your school records?" Lumen asked gently. Some human educational packages present a softened version of these choices. They called it hard trade-offs. Noah said. He heard his own voice shake. They said leaders had to make impossible choices, but over time, humanity found a better path. They did not show the faces of the people who saw this and knew it was wrong. They did not show how many times people yelled and were ignored. He stepped back, The pane slid away, small again, just one of many. The whole display floated there in front of him, a thicket of clear panels, each one holding an ugly truth or a tender lie, each one a story of someone seeing or not seeing what they were doing. "I don't want to highlight real," he said. "Show me what you think this era was. In your words, your cold, fancy museum words."